What I'd like to do is just give you a little bit of a background on what the Swartz Center is doing. The Swartz Center was made possible by a transformational gift from Jim Swartz. He's the guy in the blue sweater in the middle of the screen there, and he's also the guy in the back of the room there, Jim. Thank you so much for your transformational gift of $31 million. The Swartz Center is multimodal and does many, many things. So we created a video last year when the Swartz Center was launched, and I think this video actually does a better job than I could ever do explaining what we do. So I'd like to show that video right now to give you a sense of the broad capabilities of the Swartz Center, and then we'll get the rest of the show kicked off.
Opportunity. It's out there. Through creativity, hard work, and soaring above the norm, you can seize it. You are an entrepreneur. Whether you're an undergrad, a graduate student, an alumnus, or a faculty member. The Swartz Center for Entrepreneurship at Carnegie Mellon University is your opportunity, your path to success, where you bring your ideas to market. Courses for credit at Carnegie Mellon are at the core of the ecosystem, supported by countless extracurricular programs, global resources, and networks that launch companies. Entrepreneurs jump into the Swartz Center ecosystem at any time to build a unique path and collide with ideas, creativity, and visionaries, also striving for success. Consider a student. While attending Entrepreneurship Bootcamp, he learns about the Swartz Center Incubator, Project Olympus, giving him the opportunity to earn a Spark grant, which provides the capital needed to launch his startup. He then becomes a Swartz Fellow, a cohort program for entrepreneur training. Or a faculty member who, through the National Science Foundation I-Corps program, discovers how to commercialize her research, which then gains recognition at LaunchCMU, the Swartz Center's public entrepreneur showcase of student, alumni, faculty, and staff. At the same time, her PhD student earns additional funding by winning the McGinnis Venture Competition for CMU students and becomes an Innovation Fellow. An alum takes full advantage of the Swartz Center Connects workshops and gets mentoring from the entrepreneur in residence who suggests joining the I-Corps Site program. During this program, the alum learns about the Open Field Entrepreneurs Fund, which provides seed funding to recent alumni. For every entrepreneur, every research project, every business idea, our centralized ecosystem creates unique paths to learn, network, commercialize, invest, and launch the next great startup.
The Swartz Center is a great place because with all the resources at Carnegie Mellon, it's all being put under one roof, and that's amazing.
The quality programs at Carnegie Mellon, it's the people, it's the fact they interact with each other, it's the fact that there is this more community spirit here that's really important and really helpful in starting businesses. Students and faculty are really able to come together and share their thoughts and opinions and experiences regarding entrepreneurship. Different seminars that were free and open to anyone on campus was incredibly helpful to me.
Everybody has an extracurricular activity that they enjoy and that they're really passionate about, and they sort of combine their passion with their major, and that is exactly what is necessary to be a successful entrepreneur.
The Swartz Center for Entrepreneurship at Carnegie Mellon University.
So at lunch before the event today, Rebecca Doerge, who's the Mellon College of Science Dean, who will be speaking a little bit later, was talking about having an elevator pitch ready at any point in time. And so I'll give you my elevator pitch for the Swartz Center is we want to be the best entrepreneurship center in the world. We want to create winning companies that create value for society, and we want to engage you, Silicon Valley alumni networks, to help mentor, be a customer, be a supplier, or be an investor in Carnegie Mellon startups. So I hope today will get you excited about doing that. In a couple of weeks, about 6 weeks away now, we're going to open the new Tepper Quad building, which is on the old Moorwood parking lot at Carnegie Mellon. This is a view looking at it from the corner of Forbes and Moorwood. As you walk into the new building, there's this amazing atrium, which is meant to be a gathering space for the disciplines across campus: engineering, the sciences, computer science, design, the Dietrich College, the Heinz College, the Tepper School of Business, all working together. And if you go up those steps on the right at the top is going to be the Swartz Center for Entrepreneurship, which is an amazing space. It's that orange space on the left there. It's 8,000 square foot of interdisciplinary collaborative space to launch great companies. Next to it are 2 classrooms that are dedicated to entrepreneurship across campus. We're upping our game in entrepreneurship at Carnegie Mellon, and we hope that you'll come along for the ride with us. One of the things that we're going to talk about a little bit later today is the importance of bridging to the #1 and #2 ecosystems in the world for startups. That's the Bay Area here as the #1 and New York City. It also turns out that the Bay Area is the #2 density of alumni for Carnegie Mellon. So this place is important to us on many, many levels. And we're going to talk about some programming that we are going to be doing here like LaunchCMU. This program is called the Venture Bridge, and it was founded by the CMU Silicon Valley campus. Cheryl Root is here today, Gladys Mercier, Robbie Thomas. Are you all here? Can you guys stand up so everybody can see you? Great. This is a program that they started. And when the Swartz Center was created and launched a year and a half ago, it became part of the Swartz Center. So we're looking to continually improve this program, and we'd like to engage with you today. In fact, Rob Meyer is going to come up a little bit later and talk specifically about the program this summer and how you can get involved. Another person that deserves a tremendous amount of credit and has been our partner here for the last 6 years is Michele Kovac in the back of the room by the door. Michele, thank you so much for everything you've done. This really is a world-class facility, and Michele just makes it so easy for us to put this event on, and so we're glad that you all were able to come today. What I'd like to do now is to welcome Patrick Poland to the stage from Latham & Watkins. Latham & Watkins has been our founding sponsor since this event began 7 years ago. Patrick and Latham & Watkins represent dozens of Carnegie Mellon startups. I literally say we could not do this event without Patrick and his team. Is Ben Potter, his partner, in the room? I know he was on a call trying to save one of our startups from getting sued. I hope you did a good job, Ben. All right. Patrick, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm Patrick Poland. I head up Latham's tech practice. We represent principally startups and venture capitalists, and as they mature and become public companies, we continue to represent them in the investment banks that help take them public. First of all, I'd like to thank Dave and the rest of the CMU team. It's been our honor to be involved with CMU, I think for 5, 6 years now. 7 years. Time flies when you get old. So I just want to say thank you. The event is really, really terrific. Thank you to Oracle for this beautiful space. As you probably know, there's an event in Pittsburgh, and there's one here. And I encourage all of you who've been coming to this one to go to Pittsburgh, because it's equally good. Hi, Lenore. Lenore's, by the way, in Berkeley, and I didn't even know it. She didn't even call me Dave.
She got a better date.
She must, I heard her husband's with her, that's why, right? Anyway, so I just want to say thank you very much. I'd encourage you to please visit all the companies that are around the outside border. And again, thank you very much, and it's our honor to be involved with Carnegie Mellon.
Thank you very much, Patrick. As I said, we could not do it without you. Patrick represents companies like Duolingo, Solvi. These are AI-based companies, and there's a whole lot more. He was telling me about the latest with Bossa Nova Robotics a little bit earlier. So if you know those companies, Patrick's helping to lead them to success. What I'd like to do now is to ask Rob Meyer to come on stage. Rob was part of a program that we started 2 years ago called the Entrepreneur in Residence Program. And the idea behind this program was to bring successful entrepreneurs that have had multiple companies, potentially multiple exits, to come onto campus to work with our startups to help us achieve that second goal of creating valuable companies. Will Kegler is here today. Robbie Thomas is here today. They are also entrepreneurs in residence. Rob has taken on a new role for the Swartz Center as the director of the Venture Bridge. He's actually leaving beautiful, sunny, warm Pittsburgh, PA for cloudy, rainy, okay, I'm just kidding, for the Bay Area. So we're really excited about Rob's next chapter with the Swartz Center, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about what the Venture Bridge is. Welcome, Rob.
Thank you very much. We just finished 9 months of winter in Pittsburgh, and now I come here and it's winter again. So it's like third winter. Thank you very much. No, I'm excited to be here. I'm just going to talk for a real brief minute about the Venture Bridge. So the Venture Bridge is an initiative of the Swartz Center for Entrepreneurship to connect our outstanding alumni and key ecosystems with our early stage startups to accelerate their success. One of the key cornerstones of the program is our summer accelerator, which we're running right here in the Bay Area, with 6 high potential companies. So hopefully you've had a chance to meet some of the companies that are here today along this wall. Each company receives $25,000 investment, as well as about 8 weeks of our accelerator program. So we're officially announcing those 6 companies. I'm going to read off their names. They're also in your programs. So Bloomfield Robotics, Find Technologies, Nabla Ascent, Orbi, Talk Me Up, and Zensors. So like I said, they're along this wall. Hopefully you've talked to them already, or afterwards you can speak with them. And there's more information in your program. So logistically, the program is going to start on June the 4th, and it's going to conclude with a demo day on July 18th. So please mark your calendars for that, and stay tuned for more information. One last thing, we still have opportunities for alumni and non-alumni, friends of CMU, to mentor our companies through the program. There's different ways you can get involved. We're basically looking for founder mentors that can mentor in some of the technical areas of doing a startup, as well as investor mentors that can give feedback on pitches and so forth. So if you're interested, there's a link in your program to sign up, or come talk to me. I've got the very small end of this little table over here, and I'd love to talk to you more about it and sign you up to do some work. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rob. We're really, really excited about taking the Venture Bridge to the next level, and thank you to the CMU Silicon Valley campus for getting this program launched. It's a really important part of connecting with this community. I'd like to welcome Will Sanders to the stage as well. Will's a 2014 alum of both the Tepper and Dietrich colleges, got his degree in economics. And Will has a startup of his own, which is a meetup group out here in the Bay Area called the CMU Entrepreneurs of the Bay Area. And this group has just grown and grown and grown, and it's all due to Will's tenacity and sort of making it happen. This program that Will has is going to partner with the Venture Bridge to create several meetup opportunities over the summer. So I'd like to welcome Will to tell you a little bit about his program. If you haven't signed up already, we'd love to get you signed up for it. There you go, Will. Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. And for those, I guess Dave gave a short intro. I graduated from CMU in 2014. I actually transferred to Carnegie Mellon, so I was only there for about 2.5 years, but still liked it enough to, of course, run these entrepreneurship events. I started running these events in January of 2015. I noticed that Carnegie Mellon did not do the best job, especially in the Bay Area, of engaging alumni in entrepreneurship activities, which was a bit surprising. So I threw the first event about 2.5 years ago, and I've grown the community to over 900 people so far. So anyone else in the room that wants to get involved, just let me know. I can get you on the mailing list. I know DJ is generously volunteered at some point, so I'll have to get him, of course, to an event, which hasn't happened yet. We've had 29 alumni be featured at the event so far, and I'm looking to not only grow, of course, this in the Bay Area. That's not the only place where entrepreneurship takes place, but grow it, other cities like Seattle and New York, and even internationally. If I do find someone that's interested in running events, I can help set that up. So if anyone here wants to run events in other cities, just definitely let me know. And thanks again to Dave for setting this up. It's always great to, of course, be a part of LaunchCMU and continue the success of CMU and entrepreneurship at CMU. So thank you.
Will is just another great example of our young alumni taking initiative on their own, as entrepreneurs do, and just making things happen. And so we're so proud of him and really looking forward to growing the community here. One last opening remark speaker before we get to the meat of the show today and see our great science companies at CMU is I'd like to asked Jenny Sy-Smith to come to the stage. She is the Vice President of Oracle's Global Startup Ecosystem. Each year we've had a great speaker from Oracle sort of share what their vision is and how they're connecting to the entrepreneurial communities here. So thank you again, Jenny and Michele and the Oracle team for the use of this space. Please come to the stage, Jenny.
Thank you very much, Dave. So good afternoon and welcome to Oracle. It's been our pleasure and our honor to host this particular gathering over the last few years at Oracle headquarters. Oracle and CMU, we actually have quite a lot of common ground. Speaking of alumni density, there are hundreds of people at Oracle, working at Oracle, who have CMU degrees. Our chief software architect, Edward Screven, is a CMU alum. He reports directly to Larry Ellison. Our Oracle Labs research organization is run by Craig Steffen, who is also a CMU alum. And he has funded many, oh, there's Greg, hey. So I can't say anything too strange or weird about you then, right? Okay, no, just kidding. I don't have too many stories yet. But so Oracle Labs has funded quite a few research projects, some of which come from CMU. We also have collaborated in advancing STEM education. So for example, Oracle Education Foundation has funded the CMU development effort on Alice, which is an educational programming language. Oracle Academy has sponsored the the CMU Our CS workshop, which basically promotes the exploration by CS students who are women undergrads in research. So, you know, in a sense, there's been a lot of strong ties and collaboration across the years with CMU and with Oracle. Now, about 4 decades ago, Oracle was a startup in the Silicon Valley. And Larry Ellison took a great idea, relational database, and basically unleashed it very broadly by writing it in C and making it very portable across many different platforms. And in fact, that is how I came to know about Oracle. So fast forward 10 years, 3 decades ago, I worked at a biotech startup just off of Page Mill Road in Palo Alto. And it's just south of my alma mater, which is Stanford University. And yes, I took a gamble by working for a startup straight out of college. I had lots of student loans to pay off. Anyways, I did okay. So, and I gained invaluable experience being in a startup, because what it allowed me to do was to wear many different hats. So being a biology major, my job there was as a lab assistant. I did a lot of mixing of reagents and washing beakers and things that, you know, the chief scientist didn't want to do. And which is okay, I was learning. But I also had the opportunity to put my hand up and say, hey, give me something else to do. And they basically said, okay, well, we need an IT department. Go for it. And being somebody who was slightly afraid of programming, I took one class, Pascal programming, in college. And that was probably the hardest class I ever took, harder than biochemistry and all the other things that I had to do. But anyways, I put my hand up and I said, look, sure, send me to training and I will do this. So they made me the lab assistant / IT chief. And one day I received a box from a company called Oracle. And this box had about 12 floppy disks. And I'm sure more than half of this room have never heard of floppy disks and wouldn't know what one looks like. But anyways, 12 floppy disks in a box. And they were labeled Oracle 5.1 for MS-DOS. And so I took them out, I installed them, and it really piqued my interest about relational databases. And in fact, it galvanized me to adopt Borland's paradox, which, again, probably most of you have never heard of, but it was one of the up-and-coming database companies in that age Philippe Kahn, a very flamboyant man. I don't know where he is now, but he really was an interesting character, maybe not as interesting as Larry Ellison, but certainly up there. But anyways, so I chose Paradox as the platform for database application development and reporting. But that's really, as far as why I chose that particular software package, that's a story for another day. So I want to fast forward to 2016. In a meeting with India's Prime Minister, Narendra Modi, Oracle's CEO, Safra Catz, accepted his request to essentially help accelerate the growth of India's startup scene. And the Oracle Global Startup Ecosystem was born in the middle of 2016 because of Safra's meeting. And essentially, this is a new organization within the Oracle product development domain. So unlike a lot of startup incubation organizations in other companies that are typically under business development or marketing, this particular organization is under the product development domain. And the reason is because it's about innovation and it's about taking ideas and making it into reality, into actual products. And so we wanted to make sure that we had deep ties to product development. So this is an organization under product development under Thomas Kurian. And Reggie Bradford, who runs this organization, whom I report to, is himself a three-peat entrepreneur. So he's founded and exited 3 times. And his last time was with Oracle, where he sold his company for over $300 million 5 years ago. And so, Reggie comes with a lot of experience and knowledge and understanding of what it takes to grow a vibrant startup ecosystem. He himself never signed up for any startup incubation or accelerator. So he wanted to create something that he, as an entrepreneur, would have wanted to sign up for. And I hope that's what we're doing. And today I'm going to tell you a bit more about this particular program. So, but before I get there, I want to just say that I think, I did a little homework on Swartz Center of Entrepreneurship, and that's very impressive. And I think there's a lot of alignment with what the Swartz Center is doing and what we're trying to do at Oracle's global startup ecosystem. So I just want to read a little quote because I took it from the website at the Swartz Center, and I want to make sure I don't get it wrong. So as I understand it, the Swartz Center for Entrepreneurship seeks to accelerate bringing research, innovation, and promising ideas to the global marketplace and helping students, faculty, staff, and alumni to tap into the innovation ecosystem. So the words innovation ecosystem, they're very key, and as you can tell, it's key for us too because we call our program an ecosystem. So the idea is that our mission is to provide very enriching and collaborative partnerships with startups and connecting them with our partners and our customers to help drive and accelerate the cloud-based innovations that are happening all around us and that are really only possible because we have the cloud. The cloud essentially democratizes what you can do. For example, I've been working with universities in the UK. These are universities that are looking for gravitational waves. Anybody know what gravitational waves are? Okay, it's really, the way that somebody's described it to me is like, it's like a ripple of space and time. And it's just fascinating. But without cloud and without the power of computing and storage capabilities in the cloud, it would be really difficult for a graduate student to be able to do their research. But I was able to provision, a few hundred cores of Volta GPUs, which is the latest from NVIDIA, to support research such as that. And that's what's exciting to me, and this is why after 20 some odd years of working for Oracle, I recently, about 6 months ago, I volunteered, raised my hand again, Said, put me in this group because this is where the fun stuff is happening. You know, this is where I want to be, and I want to be there to help. And this is also where I'm trying to go back to my roots as a startup person. You know, this is where I started my career 30 years ago, and I want to enable others to achieve some success. So I want to tell you a little bit more about the okay, exciting game? Huh? Oh, that's okay. No, it sounded really exciting, so. So anyways, so the global startup ecosystem is made up of essentially 3 programs. And the program that I run targets higher education, research, faculty, the startups that spin out from university research, and students too. I support students. There's another program that supports the sort of the more seed stage type of startups that maybe need more incubation. So it's more of the co-working space, localized to a certain area. And then the third program is essentially a scale-up program where we're targeting growth stage startups, possibly already with a VC or private equity firms, and we're helping them to get to that next level very quickly. So with each one of these programs, what we're offering are essentially 3 things. First, we're offering Oracle technology. So for the C stage and some of the growth stage startups, right, they may get more or less cloud credits, some of them getting $100,000 of Oracle cloud credits across all of our infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, so that they can quickly build out their products and launch and be successful. We offer co-working space for those that need that extra incubation. So we have co-working spaces in 9 cities. Actually, we added Austin. Austin is our first US city. I know, I'm not in San Francisco area, sorry, not in Pittsburgh, not in New York, but Austin. And Austin, you know, aside from having great barbecue, it's also a really vibrant scene. And it's not like any other part of Texas that I've ever been. So anyways, so that's where we are. We have Austin. We also have 8 other cities, Brazil in Sao Paulo, Singapore, let's see, Bristol, UK, Paris, Tel Aviv, Israel, and then 3 cities in India, Mumbai, Delhi, and Bangalore. So with those hubs, we're able to devote some one-on-one time with the hand-picked startups. And so every year we have 2 cohorts. Each cohort lasts for about 6 months. And the cohorts are selected from typically about 300 to 400 applicants in each city. And we select 5 to 6 for each cohort. We also have that program that I said is essentially kind of nurturing the scale-up type of startups, right? And they could be anywhere in the world. And again, we give them cloud credits and so forth. But the third thing that we give our startups that I think is the most valuable are the connections to our customers and our partners. So we actually will do co-marketing and co-selling with the startups. You know, and Oracle has over 420,000 customers across all segments of the market, all different industries, and you know, hundreds of countries, right? So that is something that most of the startups I talk to, they say that's the most difficult part of bringing their business to life is finding their first, second, and third customers. And we can do that for them and with them. So those are the 3 things: technology, mentorship and working space, and then the connections to the partners and the customers. So if you're interested in applying, right, here's the commercial. You could just go out to Google, look for Oracle Startup Cloud Accelerator. You'll see the webpage, and then the webpage will give you more information. We don't yet have a page for the higher education program, so you're welcome to contact me, and you can get my email address through, I guess, the organizers of this event. I'm very happy to work with you guys to help you build your next dream and make it a reality. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Jenny. She's a wonderful role model. We'd like to invite you to Carnegie Mellon, give the same talk, okay, in the fall. Or actually, at LaunchCMU in the fall. That would be great if you can come. Okay, and also, hopefully, we might be able to partner. There's a lot of synergy, I think, with the Swartz Center and this new accelerator here at Oracle. Okay, I'm Lenore Blum, faculty director of the Swartz Center. I'm also founding director of Project Olympus, and I run a number of the programs of the Swartz Center. I think you already heard that I'm on sabbatical this year at, in Berkeley at the Simons Institute for the Theory of Computing. I must say that this is my first sabbatical since I was 9 years old, and I dropped out of school for a year. So if you have kids, it might not be a bad thing to have them drop out for a year, because then they never leave after that. Okay, and also I want to say sabbaticals are a little overrated these years, because with the internet, you're totally connected. There's no way that you can disengage. So you need a sabbatical from your sabbatical somehow. Okay. So the Swartz Center explainer video talks about many of the interrelated programs. And so some of our speakers this afternoon will have taken advantage of almost all of them, and I'll tell you a little bit about that in a bit. But first, I'd like to introduce Rebecca Doerge, who is the Glen de Vries Dean of the Mellon College of Science at Carnegie Mellon University, and a member of, and this is, she's exemplary of interdisciplinariness of Carnegie Mellon. She's also a member of the Dietrich College of Humanities and Social Sciences Department of Statistics and Data Science, and the Mellon College of Sciences Department of Biological Sciences. And I just earlier heard about all the different things that she does, which is quite remarkable. Her research program focuses on statistical bioinformatics, an interdisciplinary component of bioinformatics that brings together data from many scientific disciplines for the purpose of asking, answering, and disseminating biologically interesting information in the quest to understand the ultimate function of, no less, the DNA and epigenomic associations. So welcome, Rebecca. Dean Doerge.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rebecca. I have this new fancy title. Let's see here. Wrong way. Whoops. So 3 weeks ago, I got this new fancy title. We call it the Glen de Vries Dean of the Mellon College of Science. And it's my pleasure to be here this afternoon. When I moved to Carnegie Mellon almost 2 years ago in August, everyone thought that I moved to Carnegie Mellon to be the Dean of Science, the Dean of the Mellon College of Science. But actually, I moved to Pittsburgh and to Carnegie Mellon University to help them re-envision science at Carnegie Mellon University. Specifically, to inspire and elevate science by leveraging the strengths of engineering, computer science, artificial intelligence, and all the other wonderful things about Carnegie Mellon University. To differentiate science at CMU by way of its collaborative culture and artistic excellence and entrepreneurial history. Obviously, if we think about the future of science and innovation and the changing role of work, our responsibility to the world, this endeavor at CMU doesn't just impact the Mellon College of Science, it actually impacts the entire university and every person in it. It's not just about science, but people and the way they interact and the environment in which they interact. It's about hard questions that can be solved in an environment that allows collaboration and allows people from different fields to come together. I have a feeling that almost everyone in the audience, by the time I'm done with this talk, will have some thoughts about the future of science, what it looks like, and the environment in which it should grow. The future of science is flexible, It's open spaces. Yes, it still contains graduate students as I look at the grad students. But it also contains robots and computers, no doors, no barriers, everything mobile. It contains scientists, statisticians, mathematicians, artists, computer scientists, engineers, musicians. And much like the entrepreneurs, scientists of the future need to act quickly with problems of global importance, and they don't have time to waste. They need to come together, solve problems, and have a huge impact. As many of you know, how many alums do we have in the audience? Okay, you guys are going to get this next statement. Carnegie Mellon, I'm new to Carnegie Mellon, I'm not an alum, but I definitely appreciate the fact that Carnegie Mellon University is notorious for an over-the-top, very quirky, collaborative environment. It's always been kind of scrappy, creative, fast, and innovative. We have expertise in science and engineering, computer science, robots, machine learning, artificial intelligence, and CMU is uniquely positioned to create interdisciplinary teams that can focus on the future of science. FarmView, oops, that is not what I wanted. They promised me if I just, let's see, do this. There we go. FarmView is a CMU endeavor that has a focused goal of feeding more people on less land worldwide. It is focused on accelerating agriculture by producing plants that we can identify that have higher yield. FarmView is actually part of my own research program. Yes, I am a dean with the research program, and it was my lucky day that the Robotics Institute called me about 8 months ago. World population is expected to reach 9.6 billion people by 2050. Crop yields, as we know them today, cannot keep pace fast enough to feed everyone and to meet the world food challenges. Modern molecular breeding programs are extremely effective and have been a major part of my own research program. But the fact is that the annual increase using modern molecular breeding is only about 4% increased yield a year. And it's not scalable both due to human labor and expertise. The bottom line is, by 2050, we're not going to have enough land to feed all the people in the world. CMU and its partners are developing robots that can move through agricultural fields collecting data on plants, and unlike their human counterparts, also known as undergrads and high school students, these robots are happy to work 24/7. They don't get tired, they don't get unhappy, they don't get hot, they don't get cold, they don't get attitudes, and their results are precise and accurate all the time. Love undergrads, love high school students, but putting them in the field 8 hours a day, 7 days a week is not the strong point. By computationally and statistically associating the genetic architecture of the plant to physical, chemical, structural data, plants with superior performance can be identified, and identifying superior stock allows future generations of growing to provide more food. If we did this by hand, high school and undergrad students, we could expect to see an increase, as I said before, of about 4%. With robots, the goal is upwards of 20% on an annual basis, and we can talk about the genetics of how that's done later. Imagine the day when I am sitting at my dean's desk in Pittsburgh, and on my computer screen, there's a robot in a sorghum field, much like the ones that you're seeing here on the right. This is a sorghum field in Ethiopia, and the robot is traveling through the field collecting data. And I imagine myself sitting at my desk and watching a video very similar to what you're seeing here, and adjusting the robot or asking the robot to resample a certain plant, collect the integrity of the data, check the integrity of the data, and not have to be physically there, and also just the accuracy and precision of the data that come forward will make a big difference with respect to the analysis that needs to be done. And while FarmView is about my own research and global impact and my own personal desire to hang a greenhouse off the side of the Gates-Hillman building, which is also what I want to do, CMU has expertise in brain science, material science, computational biology, automated science, quantum electronics. And what you're seeing on the screen are intellectual hubs. And if you think about each one of these areas 50 years out, they will all be thriving in a different way than they are today, but all of these areas will still be the future of science moving forward. Over the course of the next several years, CMU will build a new science facility on the CMU campus dedicated to interdisciplinary discovery and the future of science. This ecosystem or environment that we're creating will be flexible and encouraging to collaboration and innovation, a place where walls can move, walls can float, benches are on wheels, connections are up instead of down, and we can change the footprint of a laboratory literally overnight to make more space or less space for whatever project is needed. If we could build CMU a building where we could dial in our scientific specifications, raise the roof, lower the roof, that would be ideal and certainly would serve science moving forward over the next 50 years. We need flexibility to give the space to diverse teams who need space when they need it, attack problems of global importance without delay, without limitation, and without barriers. This new building will be home to technologies and approaches that CMU builds and licenses, innovations that are required to exponentially accelerate the pace of discovery and manage the vast amounts of data that will accompany science of the future. Towards that end, entrepreneurship, like we're hearing today, will play a key role in the success of this unique place in the history of CMU. Many of you know and have participated in the celebrated 50-year anniversary of Carnegie Mellon, the merger of Carnegie Institute of Technology and the Mellon Institute. We are just finishing that right now. Entrepreneurship is what takes our science from the labs and sets it along the path to the real world. Entrepreneurship will move, definitely, CMU through the next 50 years. And it's what fixes our problems that we see in every day of our life and makes the world a better place. Entrepreneurship allows us to develop new, innovative ways to work and discover and to have global impact. The Mellon College of Science, as you will hear, is home to a number of companies that have been developed by our faculty and students. Success stories, fledgling stories for which we are really proud and that we follow with keen interest. Companies that are already changing science and how it's done, and companies that are set to change the world. Amazing people like DJ Kleinbaum from Biological Sciences at CMU. I won't give the year. 2005, there you go. Founder of Emerald Cloud Lab, where robotics are used to make laboratory experiments more efficient and more precise, and you will hear from DJ. Biological Sciences doctoral student Amber Lucas, who says that she is going to finish her PhD in December. Everybody pay attention, fingers crossed. Depends on her SBIR. Amber will tell you about impact proteomics. They've created a kit that cleans up proteins to speed up the discovery process. Chemistry's Tonia Simoff and hybrid solutions, which they are using polymer-based protein engineering techniques developed at Carnegie Mellon University to create tailored polymers that can be used in healthcare, energy, and industrial fields, and that stuff's really cool. I've talked to Chris Maniszewski about it. Chemistry faculty Hunaid, Nulwala, and LumiShield create environmentally friendly coatings for metal products. And our CMU colleagues in engineering, Thanasis, Karamalidis, and Clint, Noack, are changing the world via their company called Anactisis, which is developing methods for retrieving rare elements from Earth in unconventional sources. My vision for science at CMU is more than just a cool building where everything floats and moves. It's one of innovation, discovery, and solving problems that impact the world the way CMU can only do. And we invite you as partners to help us envision science at CMU, to help us think forward about how science is changing in the environment and ecosystem that is necessary to support that science, and to make the future of science a reality at Carnegie Mellon University. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Rebecca. And as Rebecca said, the companies that we're going to be highlighting today are all science-based. Of the 5, 4 of them, again, as I said, have taken advantage of many of the Swartz Center programs. Unfortunately, DJ Kleinberg, who is co-founder and co-CEO of Emerald Cloud Lab and Emerald Therapeutics, we can't claim him. He came before us. But we commandeered him in other ways. He serves on the Swartz Center for Entrepreneurship Advisory Board at Carnegie Mellon and advises a number of our companies. Dr. Kleinbaum holds a doctorate in chemistry from Stanford, but a BS, his roots are back in Carnegie Mellon in biological sciences with a concentration in computational biology and biochemistry from Carnegie Mellon. So again, another exemplar of the interdisciplinary focus of our Carnegie Mellon students and faculty. DJ.
Thank you for that very kind introduction. So this is the 7th LaunchCMU event, and I think for the first 6, when I'd get the initial email that this thing was happening, I would turn around and email Dave and say, great, when are you doing one about science? And so when I got this one, I was like, I think I emailed, I was like, all right, finally. So I'm absolutely honored to be here speaking with you today, and I'm a very proud alum of the Mellon College of Science and incredibly excited about everything that has happened there and will continue to happen there, both under Rebecca's leadership and with all of the additional resources for entrepreneurs and startups that CMU now has. So my company, Emerald Cloud Lab, is a remote control life sciences lab. So essentially what it is we have a software application that scientists anywhere in the world can use to design experiments like you're standing in front of the instrument yourself. Once you've designed that experiment and submitted it to our system, it gets run in our facility, in one of our facilities, using robotics and automation to capture every scientifically relevant aspect of the experiment. When the experiment's done, the data is handed back to you through the same software application, along with a whole suite of tools for analysis, visualization, plotting, basically figuring out what happened in your experiment and deciding what you want to do next. So you can kind of think of this like Amazon Web Services, but for life sciences experiments. The difference, of course, is that there's a huge physical component to this because we're actually running these experiments. So about 20 minutes north of here in South San Francisco, we've converted the old South San Francisco post office and postal sorting center into our factory for doing science. And unlike pharmaceutical companies or diagnostics companies, we're not focused on a product. We're not trying to make a drug here. What we're focused on is the process and in running this facility in the most efficient and efficacious way possible, such that all of the data that comes out of here has push-button reproducibility, and we capture every aspect of the data down to like the temperature and humidity in the room when your experiment was running, which usually you don't record because most of the time it doesn't matter until it does. So that's a big part of what we're doing in trying to move science up a layer up the abstraction ladder. I mean, that's something that has really characterized every technological industry up till this point, but has sort of left the sciences by the wayside. So if you think about programming languages, when you started, you were basically writing machine code. And now there are programming languages where there's not even a concept that you're connected to a processor at any point. Same thing with semiconductors. If you look at what happened from the earliest fabs all the way up to TSMC and the molecular foundry, you're moving up the abstraction layer where now you can be an electrical engineer and never step foot in a fab. So science hasn't really had this happen yet. Right now, whether or not a clinical trial candidate moves forward can come down to like, did I pipette into that well yet or not? And that's a ridiculous place for us to be. So in many ways, what we're trying to do at Emerald is build just the first layer of abstraction so you can start to think about these experiments at a higher level without worrying about the super low-level implementation details because we have robotics and automation to take care of that. There are two important factors to this business. One is capability, and the other is cycle time. So capability means being able to run any experiment that you could do in a normal lab. Our goal is that you should be able to pick up, a paper from Science or Nature or Cell, look at the method section, and then go onto our software and just rerun all of the experiments that they did to get their data. And that means being able to offer every standard in vitro life sciences experiment, which is about 100 or so experiments. So at Emerald, we're about 40% of the way there and intend on closing that gap over the next 12 to 18 months. The other thing that makes this difficult is cycle time. So being able to turn those experiments around quickly. Our goal is that no experiment should sit and wait to be run for more than 24 hours. So that imposes a lot of restrictions and optimization needed in that facility that you just saw. So it's not an unchallenging problem, but we think it's a really important one and have certainly learned a lot of lessons and have a lot of scar tissue along the way that I'm happy to share and be of service to this community through. Yeah, I mean, I think that right now, all of this is focused on, not just on startups and academics for whom there's something compelling about not having to purchase the equipment, but also big pharma companies where the data capture and the level of detail that you get from experiments when everything that matters to the science is being handled by robotics is automatically captured without any sort of manual note-taking. So that's where we are. We've been at this for almost 8 years now, and it's definitely been an uphill battle, but look forward to continuing the good fight and to talking to all of you. Thanks so much for your time and attention.
Thanks, DJ. Actually, it sounded like a true computer scientist talking about programming languages and first level of abstraction. You could be a computer scientist. Well, that's...
I went to CMU because at the time that I was applying to schools, it was the only one where you could study computer science and biology.
Right.
So there's a reason.
Okay, and now you can come to CMU and be a major, an AI major as well. I don't know if that announcement came out last week. So as I mentioned, the Swartz Center explainer video talks about many of our interrelated programs, and the next 4 speakers have taken advantage of almost all. I'd like to mention one of the programs that they have participated in, and that's our NSF I-Corps program, site program. The NSF I-Corps program is very much in the mission of accelerating the process of getting cutting-edge research which they have funded into the marketplace. And I want to acknowledge Reed McManigal, who's back here, who's from our tech transfer office, who also works with us very closely on these projects, and also someone else from our staff, Will Kegler, who also works as mentor to many of our teams. So we are proud to have been one of the first universities to be granted an I-Corps site for 3 years and then renewed this past year for another 3. But we are even prouder of our teams and their accomplishments. So let me just quickly give you some data. So we worked with about 100 teams over the first 3.5 years. 76, more than 75% are still active. 30 had female participants, that's 40%. Half of them have created companies, and in other words, they're incorporated now. 2 of those companies have been acquired. 34 of the teams have filed for or awarded patents. And they didn't receive very much money from us. It was a total of $125,000 from us, which if you calculate, is about $1.25K per team, $1,500 or $1,250 per team. On the other hand, they themselves have received in additional funds over $13.7 million. So it's sort of like 100 times return. They themselves generated almost $700,000 in revenue, about a 5-time return. And 12 of our teams have received SBIR, STTR grants at the amount of over $7 million, $7.5 million, of which 7 had female leads, or female members, so that's over 55%. So very, very proud of the accomplishments of our NSF I-Corps team. So our next speaker, Amber Lucas, who you already heard, she's a fourth-year graduate student at Carnegie Mellon in the Department of Biological Sciences. Her thesis work focuses on developing tools for researchers who work with difficult protein samples. She was a lead entrepreneur on her NSF I-Corps team for Impact Proteomics in 2016, and she was one of the recipients of the Innovation Fellows that you talked about earlier in our explainer video. So without further ado, Amber, come on. Welcome, Amber.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here. Actually, I feel like talking about all this interdisciplinary stuff, our work is a key example of how that works. It's a perfect example of both the interdisciplinary success of our college, but also how the Swartz Center for Entrepreneurship really can propel students to take charge of their projects and bring their research into real-world applications. And so today, I'm going to be telling you about how we at Impact Proteomics are enabling discovery with innovative protein sample preparation tools. So proteins are these amazing nanomachines of the cell that do all the jobs that keep us alive. And there are millions of them. And they all do different things. And when you get a disease, most of the time, it's because one of those proteins stops doing its job. And that's why proteins are the most common drug target. And that's also why we use them for biomarkers and diagnostic tools. Because even though your DNA can kind of tell you if you have a probability of getting a disease, it can't really tell you if you have it or not. And whether your proteins are functioning correctly is a concrete way to say whether they are or aren't. And when we look for new drug targets and biomarkers, you can think of it a lot like a find the difference game, where we're looking at healthy proteins and proteins from a disease situation and trying to see what's changing between the two. And when you're looking at this picture at first, it can be really complicated. Maybe the differences aren't really obvious at first. But through discovery and validation and clinical testing, we can kind of simplify this picture until the differences are really obvious. And this is exactly what we try to do. However, this is a really idealized example. And when we actually do drug target and biomarker discovery, it looks a lot more like this, where most of the information isn't even there, and the information that is there looks really bad. It's really muddy and hard to figure out. So if you wanted to find those differences, I mean, in some cases, it's literally impossible. And so another way to look at this is, we have these funnels where we start off with about 10,000 proteins, and over time, we find candidates, and we whittle it down to maybe one or two that are real, true targets. But most of the time, we end up with nothing. And that's because, remember, I told you there are millions of proteins in the cells, not 10,000. So there's this huge piece of information that we're completely missing. And the probability that what you're looking for is in that very small 10,000 is slim to none. Most likely, it's over here. And so this is a huge problem. This is why drug discovery, biomarker discovery, it usually takes 3 to 10 years, $4 to $30 million, and you have a 0.1% probability that you're going to find something real. Imagine going to Vegas with those odds. I wouldn't even bet $10 that I was going to get something. But this is why drugs are so expensive, because it takes 30 projects to get one product to market. So you have to make up all the money from all those failed projects with the money from the successful one. So really the key to making this process better starts at the top of the funnel. How can we really get all 1 million of those proteins? And how can we get them into a clean sample that we can analyze very simply? And so in this area is really where you're identifying the candidates. And within this phase, there are really 3 main steps: sample preparation, sample analysis, and data analysis. And while sample analysis and data analysis have had tons of innovation over the past 5 years, sample preparation is still done the same way it was done in the 70s, which is insane. And it leads to a whole slew of problems. Poor reproducibility from person to person and lab to lab. You're only getting a small subset of proteins. You're losing precious sample along the way, which you can imagine if you have a tumor from a person who had cancer and you lose that sample, that's precious material that's now going to waste. That's terrible. Most workflows are time-consuming, taking anywhere from 5 hours to 3 days. And the way you do it today is not automatable. So you have to have a team of people around the clock working to prepare samples. And as my boss likes to say, garbage in, garbage out. You start with a garbage sample, you're going to get garbage data. And that's why it's so hard for people to find actual drug targets and actual biomarkers, because what you're starting with gives you such a low probability of finding anything in the first place. But we know that standardization of sample preparation changes the world. We've seen this with DNA and RNA. There are companies out there that make their bread and butter making these kits so that you can purify DNA and RNA from the cell. And QIAGEN is one of those. They're a $2.6 billion company. And we've even seen how this has transformed our own lives, where you can go online and order a 23andMe kit, and they can tell you that your earwax is wet, and maybe you can taste stuff that's bitter. That's where we're at now. And so essentially, this is what we want to do for proteins. Proteins should be just as accessible as DNA and RNA. But the difficulty is proteins are much more complex than DNA and RNA. DNA and RNA have the exact same structure and chemical composition no matter what gene you're looking at, what transcript you're looking at. They all look the same. Proteins come in all different varieties. They're different sizes. They have different surface charge, different structures. And so finding a way to purify all of the proteins in a kit is really difficult. But at Impact Proteomics, we love a challenge, and we like thinking creatively, and we like using chemistry to solve biological problems, and so that's exactly what we did. And so what we've created is a new molecule that the chemistry allows us to tag, clean, and release these proteins. And so if you start out with a mixture of cellular stuff, like say you started with a tumor sample and you crushed it up and you got all the information from that cell. Now you have proteins, which I'm showing here as circles, along with DNA, RNA, lipids, carbohydrates, all this junk that you need to get rid of. And so we've made this molecule that reacts very strongly with the surface charge of proteins. And it kind of pulls these proteins out of solution like a magnet. Once we've done that, this molecule can be immobilized to a solid surface. And when we've immobilized the proteins, they're now stuck in place. And so we can wash away all of the junk that we don't want. And this gives us a clean sample that we can really use for analysis. And the beauty here is that this chemical tag is reversible. So all we need to do is reverse the chemistry, and it releases the proteins into solution. So now you can recover everything that you put in. So this works with every single protein, so you can get all millions of proteins in a cell. And your final product is unmodified and ready to be used for any analytical technique. And so what we're really offering here is faster, higher quality, protein-based sample prep for any workflow. We want to ensure every workflow starts with a high-quality sample. You should be able to observe all proteins, not just a subset. We want to let people identify candidates 10 times faster with higher statistical confidence. And our ultimate goal in all of this is to accelerate time to market for high-impact therapies, drugs, and diagnostic tools. It shouldn't take 3 to 10 years. It shouldn't take $2 to $40 million. And you shouldn't have a 0.1% chance of finding something. We want better odds. And so this is the team that's going to make it happen. This is John Minden. This is his brainchild. He's a professor at Carnegie Mellon, and he's no stranger to innovation. He invented 2D difference gel electrophoresis, which was licensed by Amersham, now GE Healthcare, and it's still widely used today. He has over 20 years of proteomics experience and has been cited over 3,000 times. Very prolific career and a very creative and fun guy. And Lenore already told you all about me, so I won't go into that. But we're really excited because we've completed our proof of concept, and we will begin, we'll begin beta testing in 2019. So we're working with 4 core facilities that run thousands of these samples in order to make sure that our technology can really address the breadth of samples that are out there, make sure that we can work with tissue samples and cell culture no matter where they come from. We're also applying for SBIR next month, so cross your fingers that we get that so that I can graduate. And if y'all would like to ask me any questions, I have a poster back there, and I would love to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Can't you see why us faculty love teaching at Carnegie Mellon? Another round of applause for Amber. That was great. Now we're going to the faculty. Our next speaker is Thanasis. You're here. Dr. Thanasis Karamalidis is currently an associate research professor in the Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering at Carnegie Mellon. He holds a bachelor's in chemistry and a PhD in environmental engineering. He has authored numerous publications, including a book, Patents and Web Tools, and received awards on scientific creative solutions for industrial applications. He is Anactisis co-founder and CEO since the company's incorporation and has been actively involved in both the technical and business development of the company's separation technologies for the recovery of critical materials from large volume industrial waste. So, Thanasis.
Thank you, Lenore. Hello, everyone. I see that there are a lot of issues related to my name, so I'm going to add one story about my name as well. For years, they have been calling me Thanos. And recently, I found out that Marvel's superhero who destroys planets is called also Thanos. So that's an addition. But you are safe today, at least today. I would suggest that you use your textbooks wisely, though. Okay, I'm very excited to present to you Anactisis. Anactisis comes from the Greek word for recovery and reclaim. And it makes a lot of sense because the mission of the company is to extract and recover selectively critical materials from large volume industrial wastes. Critical materials like rare earth elements, scandium, primarily scandium, because it's one of these excellent elements that you can dope and inject in different materials like alloys, aluminum alloys, and increase their chemical and physical performance immensely. So scandium these days has been used for bike frames and luxury sporting goods. But there are numerous applications that are hungry to use a little bit of this material, especially in the aviation and aerospace, where you can get the scandium aluminum alloys, where the weight of this alloy comes reduced significantly and can be also used in the space flights. And we know that the space industry is hungry for weight reduction. They are willing to pay $10,000 for each kilogram reduced. And there are other applications like in the automotive industry where scandium can be used in the heat exchangers, defense systems for armor, additive manufacturing in the future where they are looking on doping and injecting scandium powders in their metallics and so forth. If we sum up the amount of scandium that we would need for all those applications, we would come up with a number of 2,800 tons. But the problem is that we only get 25 tons per year. The global supply of scandium, it's only 25 tons. But there are enormous opportunities in aerospace alloys, particularly $35 billion in lifetime fuel savings from scandium aluminum alloys, substitution for ordered B737 MAX, or $1 billion increase in annual profitability of OEMs, then the question becomes, is there a solution to increase the global supply of scandium? And I think there is. Large volume industrial waste like fly ash, bauxite residues, titanium oxide tailings, phosphotailings, mining tailings, and an array of other waste that can be used. The great thing about these wastes is that the amount of scandium that they contain is comparable to mining operations. 12,000 tons market opportunity for scandium oxide from US fly ash and global red mud. As I said earlier, 2,800 tons latent scandium oxide demand in mature and emerging markets, and I'm excluding the automotive industry because it's a future market. So you could expect that this demand would go up. 1,000 tons recoverable scandium from Appalachian fly ash. We are very lucky to be in this region of US where there is a lot of scandium in the fly ash. Definitely, there is no shortage of fly ash produced in the United States. In this map, whatever you see in the orange dots is a coal-fired power plant. Totally 70 million tons of fly ash is being produced per year. 60% of that is being repurposed and reused primarily in the cement industry. 40%, the remaining 40% can be can sustain a steady supply of scandium in the United States. About 70 power plants in the East Coast could produce about 500 tons per day fly ash, which is a nice number for a viable and profitable project. And we can do that with a very simple technology. We take the abandoned waste, we apply conventional engineering, no need for innovation there, and then we innovate the separations technology. We innovate the chemistry. So we produce selective adsorbents, and we have successfully developed our first generation adsorbents where we can extract scandium oxides and a basket of rare earth elements, and we are moving towards developing the second generation of our adsorbents where we will be separating the rare earth elements among themselves. And for the future, we are envisioning a tailored adsorbent where we can extract more valuable minerals from those wastes. In a nutshell, the technology that we are developing takes the fly ash and mix it with some acids, then without any neutralization, contrary to what other technologies try to do, we pass it through our first adsorbent. The first adsorbent, what it does, it pulls out the scandium and the rare earth elements and leaves everything else behind. Then we elute that from that sophisticated Brita filter, and it goes to the second adsorbent where we can then separate the scandium from the rare earth elements and have two sellable products. Our current business model, we have the coal-fired utility dying to get rid of the waste. So some fee can be applied to that. We take that waste fly ash, we process it, we produce the scandium oxide, which is being injected to the metals value chain, and this is where we get most of the revenue back. But the great thing about this treatment technology is that we take waste in, but we produce a secondary product, which is a fly ash, which is now on spec that we can then sell to the fly ash marketer, and creating a new revenue stream that fits back to the coal-fired utility, a fraction of it at least. Competitive advantage. As I said earlier, direct use of acidic feedstocks, no need of neutralization. We valorize waste. What better than this? diversification of sources, in other words. We have high selectivity, which means few-step process. If you compare that to 1,300 steps that they currently use in China for doing something similar, I would consider that a big leap in advancement. Low capital, which means that it's scalable, and environmentally responsible since we are not using any solvent organic liquids. And this is where you should be using your checkbooks wisely. We are in this phase of collecting enough money from SBIR grants, National Science Foundation, and Department of Energy to have progressed enough so that we can build our first pilot plant by 2020. So if you are interested in our project, we would be very happy to talk. I'm here, Thanasis Karamalidis, with my co-founder, Clint Noack. He's sitting over there, and we would be very happy to solve any of your questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Thanasis. I want to mention that Clint also was an innovation fellow working on this project, NSF I-Core project. So I'd like to welcome our next speaker, who is Tonia Simakova. She's founder and director of research and development of BioHybrid solutions, again, one of our I-Core teams. Tonia was also an innovation fellow, also one of our first ones. She received her BS in chemical technology from the Mendeleev University of Chemical Technology of Russia and holds a PhD in chemistry from Carnegie Mellon. I believe she received that last year. During her graduate research, she has worked on the polymer-based technology which can transform enzymes into efficient catalysts, useful in pharmaceutical, chemical, and biofuel industries. So, Tonia. Thank you.
Thank you, Lenore, for introduction. I'm very excited and flattered to be invited here to speak about our company. The name of our company is BioHybrid Solutions. And I would like to start my talk with a question. What is common between detergent, jeans which have warning look, cheese, and antibiotics? And because I only have 8 minutes, I'm not going to wait for your answers. And I'm just going to tell you that all of these products, they either contain or they were made with enzymes. And Amber already talked about proteins, but I'm just going to go into that one more time. So enzymes are a type of proteins. They're nature catalysts. And proteins, they have very unique, complicated three-dimensional structures you can see here. This specific protein is comes from egg white, specifically ostrich egg white, if you're interested. What happens, though, they have a lot of very interesting, very unique functions. That's why they've been used in many industries already. The issue, though, that they also can be denatured or ruin their properties quite easily. So for instance, if you heat them, they unfold and they'll lose their complex three-dimensional structure and they don't work anymore. So next time you cook egg for your breakfast, I want you to think about what you're doing. So it's no wonder then, because it is an issue, that their stability is an issue. The industry of improving enzyme performance has seen exponential advances over the last decades. And how fast nowadays you can bring new enzyme products is really impressive. Even 20 years ago, it used to take, on average, 40 scientist years to bring a new product on. So nowadays, it takes on average about 2 scientist years. And coming to Silicon Valley, I couldn't help myself when I wanted to give an analogy of Moore's law, that we hope that our company will help to fuel acceleration in this field synergistically with existing technologies. As you can see in Moore's law, there shows overall acceleration and exponential advances in technologies, but there are also a set of subwaves of technologies, and I'm dreaming that our technology could be one of these subwaves for enzyme industry. So what we're actually selling is our nano-armoring process. So we can chemically engineer proteins to dramatically enhance their performance using polymer chemistry. So we take enzyme, which has this complicated 3D structure, and put less organized synthetic polymers around that. But because of the diversity of polymers you can put on their surface, you can change their behavior for different applications. If you need higher temperature stability, stability under acidic conditions, which can be useful for a number of applications. You can think about it as Captain America, where Captain America himself is an enzyme, and his shield would be our polymer coating. We have a number of benefits which we believe make our process commercially attractive. And we would like to fuel acceleration of product development with robust biocatalysis with enzymes. So we can improve stability and production rates of enzymes, orders of magnitude. We have quite simplified development cycle compared to other methods. We are less expensive than other traditional approach for polymer conjugation. And we also provide opportunity to use novel enzymes which are unstable. So that means you can have new products and new processes. So these are our current markets of our interest. We started a company in 2016 with work in industrial enzymes area, specifically in biofuels. And this year we started working on more applications in green synthesis, which can be used for commodity and specialty chemicals, pharmaceutical compounds, agribusiness compounds. We're potentially also working with different type of partners and collaborators, and we see that there are a lot of interest for using our technology in therapeutic applications. And this is something we're also very interested in, but we realize it requires different type of investment and work, but we're hoping to have more interesting projects next year in this topic. And there's a lot of other areas which we could potentially go, and we keep that in mind, but we're also trying to stay focused. So as I mentioned, we started our company 2 years ago, and it was, back then it was 3 of us. I graduated from Carnegie Mellon chemistry department, and Chris Matuszewski here to the left of me, he was my PhD advisor, Department of Chemistry. Alan Russell is also professor at CMU in biomedical engineering. And I'm very excited that 2 years later, our family grew to 7 people, where 4 of us are full-time employees, which include both scientists who are working really hard to advance our technology, and also people some more on the business side to make sure our commercial development going well. And then I would like just to give you acknowledgements. It's been really exciting to work together with Chris and Alan to build this company. They've been working on this technology since early 90s. And I kind of joined in during my PhD, and it's really amazing opportunity to take your PhD research trying to build something commercial out of that. I'm one of those people who took probably like 99% of opportunities from Swartz Center, as Lenore mentioned. I'm Innovation Fellow. I participate in the SOF-I Core program. It's been great working with Center for Technology Transfer with Reed. Meetings at Project Olympus were really helpful, and I also would like to mention Scott Institute, who were really helpful to showcasing our biofuel technology. To date, we were mostly funded through SBIR funding, which has been really amazing, and I would like to thank Department of Energy and National Science Foundation. And also, it's really, nowadays it's impossible to build something really viable in isolation, so having great partners and collaborators it's really been amazing for our technology. Thank you.
So last but not least is Professor Hunaid Nulwala, who is the CTO of LumiShield Technologies, another NSF Core team. Dr. Nulwala is faculty at the Department of Chemistry at Carnegie Mellon. He invented the process to reduce active metals like aluminum, zirconium, titanium, etc., in aqueous media via electrochemical methods. This finding resulted in the creation of LumiShield technologies and opened up frontiers in material science which were not possible earlier. Dr. Nulwala has broad interest and experience in the areas of ionic liquids and their use as additives to enhance polymeric properties, the formation of polymer nano composites and gas separations in energy applications. Dr. Nulwala holds multiple degrees in the areas of commerce, polymer process, engineering, and chemistry. He received his PhD from the University of California, Santa Barbara in 2009. And he's also currently on sabbatical from CMU, but to commercialize LumiShield technologies. Okay, Hunaid.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind introduction. Before I start, I wanted to say that this project is really close to me. And the main reason is that I tend to think about what the future holds. I tend to think about 30, 40 years down the road when most of us, maybe not all of us, are not going to be here and we're going to leave behind. So when we think about everything around us, the buildings we live in, the infrastructure we use, it tends to corrode. Corrosion is a major problem. The cars you drive, they rust. The mass transit needs constant maintenance. They rust. Ships and goods and services which show up to us, they need constant maintenance. And that needs to be behind your back that, okay, what happens to that, right? Somebody has to pull these ships out. They have to maintain them. It has to be scrapped. It has to be repainted. What happens to those painting? How does that whole process work? Your bridges, your electrical infrastructure, they all tend to corrode. According to NACE, which is the National Associations of Corrosion Institute, it's a 3% of global GDP, which ends up being $2.5 trillion cost to the overall global economy. And it's a huge problem. The way we are dealing with it right now, you have parts being fabricated, they get plated, then they get painted, or if they're plated, they're used directly. In most of these plating processes, we are using heavy metals, for example, nickel, chrome, cadmium. Zinc is also there, but zinc has different issues as compared to the heavy metals. But they end up being the products we use every day. It's in your cell phones, it's in your USB connections we are using. And these heavy metals tend to be there all the time, right? So I already told you that corrosion is a big problem, and we want to change it. So the mission for me is to basically replace all the heavy metals out of coatings. There's an environmental cost. I'm pretty sure a lot of you know about Erin Brockovich, right? Who knows about Erin Brockovich? Good. The people who did not raise their hands are too young, okay? But there are a lot of other sites, you know. For example, Northern Air Plating is a site in Michigan. There are tons of sites in Oregon which are contaminated with heavy metals. And these are the plating operations which supports our industrial empire, okay? So just kind of keep that thought in mind, okay, what is the cost to the environment? For me, this is where it gets personal. These are my two boys. The little one, and this is a photo I took it in Santa Barbara when I was doing my PhD. So I had both of them while I was a graduate student. And they still are like this. They are like running around everywhere, you know, putting things in their mouth, even though the older one is now 16. Okay, but it's priceless, right? So this was something I was doing this research. A lot of it was funded by US Department of Energy and at CMU, and it was a joint collaboration between the both of those places. So normally when you look at the metals up there, aluminum, titanium, zirconium, magnesium, people don't plate them. They make stuff out of it, but it never gets plated. And the reason is when you try to plate it, you end up splitting the water first, right? And what that means is you cannot do any sort of electrodeposition with these metals. What we were able to figure out was to put some organic ligands around these metal centers that allowed it to start depositing. And that is revolutionary because it opened up metals which were not there, and they are less toxic and allows improved performance and brings the cost much lower than what has been done right now. The good thing about us is, you know, we have raised Very little, private funding. We have done most of our work on public funding, so it's your tax dollars at work. All right, so we are leveraging $7.5 million of federal research. We are at a pilot level scale already. We have a 5-gallon line running in our company, as well as one which is running in our partner company too. So the key features for my coating is it's inexpensive, it's corrosion resistant, it's sustainable. We can change the property of the coating depending on how we are doing it, and we have the IP associated with this. So yeah, it's a $150 billion market, but that's not where we are going to enter. We are going to enter right at that corner where you have a small players, which is a $110 million market, because that's where we can enter the market. Ultimately, we want to go into aerospace, we want to go into automotive, we want to go into agricultural, but you run into specs, you have to be written into specs. People want long-term data. So for us, that's our initial market. That's where we are focused on. That's where we are developing our products for. The team is both technically and business heavy. My partner, Dave Lupke, he was my counterpart at US Department of Energy, and the way I took the sabbatical, he actually quit his job. So kudos to him. Zhu, John, and Stenko have been with me from the start. Zhu and John were the postdocs. Glen has recently joined. He brings 40 years of plating experience, which we don't have. And on the other side, Dave has been a great help. Where are you? Right there. And Ed and Matt Bootman both have been serial entrepreneurs and who have been giving us guidance on what to do. Brett is the CEO, COO, and he is also a co-founder, and he brings his business background to the company. Right now, as I was mentioning, that we are in market, and we are looking to raise funding for scale-up and marketing. We are looking to raise $1 million. We are also seeking strategic partnership specifically for larger markets. For example, aerospace, automotive, or agricultural type applications, because you have to go through the approval and the spec process, and that's why we are looking for those strategic partners. And if you guys have those connections, I would love to talk to you guys, as well as if you have your checkbooks on, bring it there. So at the end, the takeaway is it's an inexpensive coating. It's corrosion resistant. The main thing which is driving us to replace the heavy metal coatings out of existence, that's what we want to do. It's versatile, and we own the IP. With that, I will be right there. Hey, you're sitting in my desk. And thank you. If you have any more questions, I will be available.
All right, on time and on budget. How about that? All right. Thank you all for taking a look at a side of CMU that we don't often get to see. I think science at CMU is amazing, and it's going to help take this university to the next level. Right now, we're going to have a networking session where you can meet the teams that spoke today, or you can meet other teams from CMU with AI backgrounds, robotics backgrounds, but there's going to be some great food and drink. One last thank you to our amazing sponsors, Latham & Watkins and Oracle. We really appreciate this, and please, seek out the folks from our Venture Bridge team. That is a program that's going to be very active this summer, and we really need you as CMU alums and investors to be involved. Thank you very much, and have a great evening.